No one warned you that a simple bath could bring back a lifetime, not through pain, but through the way water lingers on a patch of skin you've touched 1,000 times, but never really listened to. That's where this begins. Not with age, but with memory, waiting beneath the surface. No one warned you that a simple bath could bring back a lifetime, not through pain, but through the way water lingers on a patch of skin you've touched 1,000 times, but never really listened to. That's where this begins. Not with age, but with memory, waiting beneath the surface. 1. The grief beneath the skin. Mr. Ellis didn't notice the chipped tile at first. It had been there for years, a tiny crack on the 4th step of his porch. His wife Margaret used to tease him about fixing it. "One day it'll catch you," she'd laugh. "But I suppose you've always danced around trouble." And he had. Even after she passed, he kept walking that same path every morning, slippers soft against the concrete, muttering good morning to the bushes she once trimmed. But on that Tuesday, his right arch seized, a sharp jolt. One of those pains that feels like electricity and memory colliding in the same nerve. He winced, paused, and before he could stop himself, tears welled. It wasn't the pain, it was the timing, their anniversary. 42 years ago to the day, they had danced barefoot in the kitchen, her wedding ring glinting in the glow of the kettle light. The muscle spasm had nothing to do with age. It was a trigger, not just physical, but sacred. Because grief doesn't always walk through the front door. Sometimes it shows up barefoot, in the crook of your foot, where her heel used to rest against yours. He stood there for a while, pressing his toes into the cracked tile, as if pressing into memory might somehow bring her closer. He didn't say anything to his daughter that day, didn't cancel lunch, didn't mention the tear marks on his socks. But something shifted in him, a quiet respect for the body that carries grief not as weight, but as movement. Grief dances, even when the music has stopped. 2. The spot that speaks back. There's a place behind your knee that tightens at night. It's not sharp, just persistent, like a whisper you can't quite translate. Sometimes it travels to the base of your neck, to the curve of your lower back. It shifts, disappears, returns. You've tried stretching, drinking more water, maybe a heat patch or two, but still, it hums beneath the surface. And one morning, as you reach for the towel, you pause your hand on that exact spot and realize this isn't just tension, it's a message. You see, after 60, magnesium levels quietly drop, up to 30% in some studies, which means your nerves spark sooner, your muscles hold tighter, your sleep dances instead of settles. But beneath the data is something softer. Your body isn't misbehaving, it's remembering. Because that knot behind your knee, that's where your child once rested their head during a long car ride to the beach. That pull in your neck, that's the exact angle you held during evening prayers beside your mother. Your body doesn't store pain, it stores echoes. And sometimes it plays them back not to hurt you, but to ask, will you notice me again? It's not just about minerals, it's about memory, about the unseen language your skin has been whispering for years. You're not broken, you're full of places that meant something long after the moment passed. So the next time something aches, pause, not to fix, but to listen. Because that spot, it's speaking back, not for attention, but for acknowledgement. And that might be the beginning of your return. 3. The ritual you didn't know was healing you. Evelyn never kept a journal, never lit incense, didn't own a single yoga mat. She wasn't the type to chant mantras or sip herbal tea while watching the moon rise. But every night, just before bed, she did one thing. She touched her wedding ring. Not dramatically, just a soft turn, once forward, once back, over the knuckle where the skin had thinned, but the memory had thickened. To anyone else, it looked like habit, like idle motion. But to her body, it was a ceremony. Each rotation pressed into a cluster of nerves and skin sensors called Merkel cells, little gateways of sensation that told her brain, you're still connected, you're still here. No one taught her this. Not her doctor, not a wellness coach, not some viral post online. Her body taught her, through instinct, through years of ritual so small it never asked for attention. She didn't do it to feel healed, she did it to feel real. And that's what most rituals are. Not the loud ones, not the ones that get photographed, but the small repetitions we perform when no one's watching. Because somewhere inside, our body remembers what we need to return to ourselves. The way you rub your thumb against your palm when nervous. The way you refold a towel before you sleep. The way you linger in the warmth of bathwater just 5 seconds longer than you used to. These aren't random. They're quiet maps back to safety. You don't need a guru. You don't need a plan. You just need to notice what your body already does to keep you whole in the silence. 4. What the experts forgot to tell you. Dr. Amina Chen has worked with older adults for 27 years. She's seen more joints than she can count. Knees swollen, shoulders stiff, backs curved like commas holding stories no one dared to finish. But what she noticed most wasn't pain. It was pause. That subtle moment when someone moved and their eyes softened. Not from the ache, but from what the ache reminded them of. We treat pain like malfunction, she once said. But sometimes, it's memory speaking through the body, like the wrist that tightens when lifting a teacup, because that's how you once held your child during midnight feedings, or the hip that flares in cold air, because that's where you leaned your weight while dancing on linoleum floors to a song that hasn't played in decades. Science explains it cleanly. Motor memory, neural imprinting, pain pathways reactivated by repetition. But she sees more than nerves. She sees nostalgia, echoes, unfinished tenderness stored in muscle. And maybe no expert ever told you that, because medicine is good at fixing, but not always good at honoring. No one wrote in your file, carries grief in left shoulder, remembers first kiss in spine alignment, needs permission to stretch without shame. But your body remembers anyway, not because it's weak, but because it's loyal, because it stored everything you didn't have time to feel while you were busy surviving, parenting, proving, enduring. And now, when you pause, when you lift something and flinch, the question isn't, what's wrong with me? It's, what have I carried too quietly, for too long? Not all pain is injury. Some of it is love that never found a landing place. 5. The bath that becomes a map. You always thought baths were just for washing, for rinsing off the day, for softening tired feet, for loosening tight backs. But lately, something else has begun to happen. Not dramatic, not even noticeable to others, but to you, a shift. The water feels different now, heavier maybe, like it's holding more than steam. You lean forward to scrub your shoulder blade, the same spot that's burned quietly for years, and suddenly remember the nights your daughter lay her head there, coughing through childhood asthma. Her breath, her weight, that exact warmth still echoing through your bones. You run your fingers over your knees, swollen slightly from the weather, and realize it's not just humidity. It's your anniversary next week. The one your partner never missed, even after forgetting birthdays and favorite meals. Your knees are not inflamed, they're grieving. They're remembering what they used to kneel for: love, prayer, forgiveness, joy. This bathwater isn't just water, it's memory water. Every spot you touch becomes a map. Behind your ears, your mother's whispers before bedtime, your collarbone, the place where first love once rested, the arch of your foot, pressed into warm sand, a honeymoon long packed away. You aren't just bathing, you're remembering, not in thought, but in touch. Your body is not a list of symptoms, it's a map of places you've been loved, and bruised, and seen, and stretched, and healed. The ritual is small, the effect, enormous. Because when you wash with attention, with presence, you don't just feel clean, you feel returned to the person who once lived inside all those places before time made them quiet. It catches you off guard, the way your hand pauses on that one spot, just below the rib cage, near the base of your spine, a place you've washed 1,000 times without thought. But today, you linger. And in that stillness, something rises. Not pain, not even memory, but recognition. That spot, it once held warmth. A child's hand during hide and seek. the press of a lover's palm, as laughter spilled into dusk. The weight of a grief you never told anyone about because it felt too ordinary to name. And now, in the quiet of warm water, you realize this isn't just skin. This is story. This is archive. You were never just bathing. You were returning to the places your body stored you when your heart was too full or too fragile to carry it all at once. This moment, this small gesture of touch, isn't about hygiene. It's about reverence. Because when you wash that spot, you're not erasing the past. You're honoring it. You're saying, I remember you, I remember me. That's the shift. Not dramatic, not loud, but real. Washing isn't just cleansing, it's listening. To the language your body speaks when the world is finally quiet enough to let you hear it. The water drains slowly, as if reluctant to leave you. Steam rises, not as fog, but as breath returned to the room after too long held inside. You wrap yourself in the towel, not to dry, but to gather yourself. Not scrubbed clean, not new, but softened. Because this wasn't about washing away. It was about washing toward the places in you that hadn't been touched except by memory. That spot you lingered on. The one you thought was just dry skin, just tension, just your age, was none of those. It was a threshold, a quiet doorway, a story that had waited beneath your touch for you to come home. You step out of the bath, but not out of the moment. Because now you know, this isn't just water, it's the mirror. And you are still in there, more whole than you felt in years. If a spot came to mind, not just on your body, but in your memory, a place your hand paused, a place your breath caught, a place that felt like more than skin. You don't have to explain it, just leave a small word below, a gesture, a whisper, a name, anything that says, I remembered. That's all this is, not a comment, a return. We'll be there, quietly, where water meets warmth and the body remembers how to feel like home again.